Hi guys, today we'll be talking about a design pattern, which is one of the creational design patterns, which is known as builder design pattern. So, looking at what are the features that we get in the builder design pattern, it abstracts the client from understanding the entire class attributes. So, whenever the client is initiating a builder design pattern, the client does not need to understand the entire class. It helps in creation of immutable objects, which could be one of the important constructs for your program. It handles backward compatibility beautifully. Like it's one of my favorite patterns that handles backward design compatibility. The backward compatibility comes into play when your the class that you designed is progressing, but your clients does not need to change because the design itself would handle it, and it is an alternative way to construct complex objects. We'll be looking at all of them with the help of examples, don't worry. So just to initiate a class, let's say I create a class called car, and and let me just initialize it with, let's say, few fields, which could be these. I now define the car type also. Car type is so card type is an enum. So defining card type could be, let's say, one of these fields, card, and coming back to car. Now, what the usual pattern would be that you create a constructor and you then start to use it here. So let's say car, C1, new car. What were the constructor? Number plate, color, and car type. The number plate, let's say TL something something, and color is let's say white, and card type is, let's say, it's so this is a typical way how you construct an object. But when you use a builder design pattern, what you do here is you define another class, which is, let's say, a builder class. So it would be, let's say, it would be a public class, it would be a static class because it's an inner class, and it's called builder. Website tends to give class, and it would replicate the same fields that were present in your car object. So there's a duplication, but we look at why the duplication is required. And what we do here is we sort of have these methods in place. So this number plate method would take in the argument as number plate, and it would set the builder dot number plate as the number plate, and it would always return a builder object. So this happens for all the attributes in your builder. It takes in that argument, it sets the builder's attribute, and then return the builder class itself. And at the time of creation, what you would do is, let's say I would want to also, create. So there's this build method, which would ideally take all these attributes and it would return you the main car. So this would return the car object now. Okay, so new car, and what it would do is it would take the attributes that were there in this builder method and return you. So what we have done is these are the attributes that we initialized using these methods, and when we do a build, we give you this object, which is car, which was desired. So this is just an intermediate thing. So let's just look at it, how we do it. And the best part is we have to make this constructor private because we don't want people to be continue to use this as a constructor. So this is gone. Now our car C2, how we initialize it would be new car dot builder. We got the builder object. Now we do set, let's say, number plate as this, and let's say the color as white, and card type as sedan, and we do build. Got the object, and when we run it, say system out C2. This would ideally print the memory location, but we'll just check this out that if it got the cart object properly or not. C2, see, we've got the same object that we almost got it with. Now, so you understood, right? Why we now the client, which is this class, does not have the entire insights. Now, let's say I really don't want the number plate to be coming. It's again an optional field for me. What I can do here is, let's say I can have a pattern here that takes in a standard pattern. Let's say this, and in case the client does not need the number plate, it can just eliminate it. Let's say I'm designing an application that I just want my car object to know the color type and car type. So why do I even have to do it? But now, just look at this. The, the builder itself has initialized. So if I don't call this method, it already has that initialized. So otherwise, what you would have to do here is uh, you would, if you were, let's say, using a constructor type object, you would always have to, pass all these duplicate strings by yourself and handle it multiple times. And just taking an example of a huge application, this would take a lot of your bandwidth and knowledge in constructing something that's not even meaningful. So, yep, we've done this, and it creates immutable objects because now you can't mutate this. You can't do a C2 dot something and change the values. There are no methods that allow you to do it. Immutability is done. Handle backward compatibility extremely well. So let's say I grow this car object to include, let's say, string city, registration city. Just a random example. I will duplicate this here as well. So my constructor would change. And I just need to change things here. And I will create another method called registration city. Pretty simple, right? Now this takes in a string. And what do you think? So let's say I initialize it as empty string. My client does not need the city. So it would handle it very well, right? But had this been the approach, you would have to change two constructors. You would have to create two constructors, one to handle one with 3 parameters and another one with handling 4 parameters. Or if you would not have, if you do not want to change, if you do not want to have two constructors, your clients would always have to, send in a null city or an empty city, just to ensure that, they are able to use the constructor. So it works very well this way. So if if I were to run this code, city is not required now. So because city is again an optional parameter that would be registration city would be initialized by default. And this is a pretty simple example, so you might not understand why this is needed, but just to give you some insights, let me create a student object here. And let's say the student has all these fields. Okay, so these are the fields that the student has. We also have an address class. Now, address has a lot of other fields. So these are the fields that the address has. And now, since this is a huge object and it has address within it also, what you would end up doing is you would create a constructor for this. You would use it here. Huge amount of changes, and this student class might evolve over time. So the easiest thing that you can do here is you can create a private constructor to student. Just do here, private constructor. I will create a builder class for student. Builder class is here. Yeah, builder class takes in all these duplicate names and building it here. And the last thing that I would do here is build. So I just need to have a build method that returns me a student using all these parameters. So return type is new student, and I'm pretty sure that you guys have understood. So I just quickly go through this. So you just do all of these attributes and fill it up and return it. And you could do the same for address now. So address, so you could create a builder class. First, you would obviously have to create a private constructor to be used inside the builder class. And now you build the builder class, something like this. This has duplicate fields. I've also initialized the country as India. And see, this has a build method and it works, right? So just showing you how complex can the classes be and why essentially a builder button would be very helpful in the cases of nested. So how you would do is, let's say if you were using this class and let's say student dot builder, why not have the builder? So now I've initialized the builder object. Now what I can do is I can have my first name as Karan, second name I can omit if I want to. I can initialize father's name, I can skip mother's name, I can have a DOB optionally. But let's just emphasize on this object. I don't think I've created the address bit here. So let's also create an address. Okay, address is it. Just that the naming was not right. So address, what it will do is address. Now you can use a new address field here. Address itself as a builder, and I can use, let's say, my house address, which is this is my house address, and this could be my city, could be Delhi, and I can my state is also Delhi. I can skip the country because by default it takes it as India. And now if you see, what I've done is my student builder has an address field, and address is another builder. So it really takes out a lot of logic from the client because client does not need to understand all of those things. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. So do let me know, guys, if you have some comments or if you really want to want me to take this topic in much more detail, and I would love to do it. Do let me know how you feel about this, and thank you guys so much for watching this.